So have you ever thought about what's it like to own a house? Like, what are the expenses? What goes on when you own a home? Or maybe you're like, duh, Anita, everybody knows what it's like to own a house. Well, no, a lot of people are really shocked the first year, the second year, and the third year they own a home because they had no idea. There was no landlord around anymore. I mean, things cost a lot more money when you own a house. So I thought I'd do a little bit of home ownership 101 coming up right now. So let's just talk about some of the basic things. Now, utilities. So utilities sometimes are wrapped around or wrapped up or included in your rent check, right? Well, not so much when you buy a home. You're gonna have a trash bill and a sewer bill and electricity and a gas bill. And let's toss in the cable TV bill, which is not a utility, but let's just clump it in there, okay? Because it's $120 around-ish, depending. And these expenses, it can be another $300 or $500 a month. Yes, depending on where you live, especially California, things are a little bit more expensive. So you kind of want to know that stuff going in. You will pay all those bills separately every single month. And although they might come out auto pay, you really want to know because now you have a mortgage and you might have homeowners association, which could be another $200 to $500. And you pay that separately than you pay your mortgage payment. So you've got the mortgage, you've got the utilities, you've got the homeowners association, and then you have the property taxes. Let's talk about property taxes since they're the big gorilla in the room when you own a house. They're a big expense. Now, when you purchase your house and you organize things with your lender, a lot of times people have what's called an impound account. So their property tax payment gets wrapped up into their mortgage payment. So they don't have to go saving $7,000 a year or $6,000 a year for their property taxes. And that's great. I think it's one of the best ways to go. That's called an impound account. So the property taxes are a big deal in California. They are 1% of your purchase price. So if you're buying a $700,000 house, that's $7,000 every year, approximately, that are your property taxes. And if you don't have an impound account, you have to pay those taxes, part of them. You can pay them in two sessions or at 2 times a year, in December and right around April. And you pay half each time, generally speaking. You could pay them all at one time if you want, but you get 2 separate bills. It's a chunk of money. So you want to have that in your budget way before you go buy a house, because those property taxes come up every year that you own your home forever and ever. And by the way, if you don't know anything about property taxes in the state of California, you want to go do your research on Prop 13. It saved millions and millions of Californians from having to pay taxes on their properties that went up every year and was based on what their house was worth that year. And that just made tons of people back in 1978 and before leave California, and it put a lot of senior citizens in dire straits. So a great law was passed, Prop 13, and ever since the late 1970s, Californians have been enjoying a 1% property tax. It has a cap of up to 2%, but basically we calculate on 1% a year, and you don't ever want anything to infringe on that. So heads up when voting time comes, because there are certain people that are trying to take away Prop 13 by calling it different things and doing different things to chisel away at that. And it's a really precious thing, Prop 13. It keeps a lot of people in their homes. So it's really cool because you just pay 1% of the original price that you paid for the house. So if your house was $700,000 and it turns into $1 million home, you don't pay taxes on $1 million. You always pay taxes on the price that you bought your house. It's great. So keep that in mind. It's a super important thing. Prop 13. I'll put some links to it below here. It's a big deal when you own a house. So one thing I really like to go over is the functions of the house. I mean, when you had a landlord, anything that was broken, or maybe you never really knew how it worked, they would come in and show you, or they'd repair it, right? So when you have a house, you have a hot water heater, you have washers and dryers, and yes, you just put clothes in them and they wash and they dry, but you do have to get your dryer vents cleaned every 2 or 3 years, or even every year is a good idea. They're a number one cause of home fires. But most people don't know that. A lot of people use all kinds of extension cords around their house. It's a number one cause of home fires. So you really have to kind of learn how to make a house operate safely. And if you get lucky, the former owner maybe left you some operating manuals. And thanks to the internet gods, we can look up the manuals for our washer and dryer and our microwave and whatever on the internet. For the most part, you can find them and print them out, which is really kind of cool. But you want to really know the functions, like your hot water heater, and you know, does it had to be strapped in, and certain things had to be ready to go when you moved in, but 3 or 4 years later, what shape is it in? So you really want to know all the functions of your house and kind of conquer them, look into them, and know how to maintain them, because you need them while you're enjoying the place. And if all your plants are dying, it might be because you don't know how to operate your irrigation system. And you might need to pay $100 or so to have a landscaper come in and tweak it and fix it so you can grow your vegetables. You see, there's a lot to think about. So learn the functions of a house and think about these things before you even enter the home buying world. Super important. So things do need to be repaired when you're living in a home, right? Well, what you really want to know are, what are your resources for getting things repaired? And I always tell people, your realtor is one of your best resources. I know I have endless plumbers and electricians and handymen, lots of handymen in my contact list, roofers, and just people you might want to know. A garage door repairman, a big deal, because every once in a while it's a little stiff and it doesn't work and you don't know what to do. Well, your realtor is going to be a great resource for you for the repairs as you go along living in your home. Even for good painters and landscapers and all the things it takes to take care of your home, make sure you keep your realtor's number in your pocket, because they're awesome resources for vendors that, well, they have pretty fair prices usually, because realtors don't like to spend big bucks, and they're insured, and they've been working regularly and consistently and doing great work for the realtor for years. So, and did I say insured? Insured is a big deal. You want anybody who walks into your house or in your yard to have liability insurance. So using your realtor for a resource for repairs is a big, big deal. And like I said, keep things going and get them repaired right away. You want to keep up your house. And lastly, I always talk about the exit plan. Well, what if you're going to sell your house in 5 years? And what if you're going to stay there forever? Either way, this repair information I'm giving you and the upkeep information and understanding the systems of a house is really going to pay off when you go to sell it. And maybe there's a surprise selling in there, which I mention once in a while, because sometimes things come up in life, good and bad, where you have to move. And you just don't want to get the lowest dollar for your house because you let it go. So make sure that you're thinking always, you're keeping up the value of your house, so that someday, if and when you ever had to sell, you would get top dollar. It's a super important thing to think about, and I bet no one ever does, especially if you've lived there for many, many years, right? You're not thinking about when you're selling. You're raising kids and you're living life, and you're not thinking about 30 or 40 years from now. But if you just kind of think about it periodically, I believe you're better off in the long run. So just kind of keep that out there sometimes when you go to own a house. So there you go. That's Homeownership 101. In a nutshell. I could make 10 more videos on this subject. Hey, why don't you help me out? Give me your 2 recommendations that you would give people thinking about owning a new home. What should they think about? What should they know about what it's like to really live in their own place? Tell me in the comment section below. And look in the description section for all my free ebooks for buyers. I have a free seller's guide, a free VA guide, and I'm an affiliate with Homes for Heroes. So I give away a great big check to all our first responders, our active and retired military, and our teachers. Make sure you check out the Homes for Heroes link below. It's a nice check after you buy a house, or even after you sell a house. You'll get a big chunky check from me. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button and the little bell, and you'll get all my future videos. Check out the next video in the upper right hand corner. And this is Anita with Keller Williams and Discover Sonoma County Living, and I'll see you around the neighborhood.